other Monday, we talk to finance expert and the author of Never Date a Broke Dude and the CEO of the Flex Financial, that's key, I love that title, the Flex Financial Freedom Academy, Pattie Ehsaei, who joins us now via Zoom. Pattie, good morning to you.
Good morning, gentlemen. How are you?
Doing so well. We're so excited to talk with you.
This topic that we're going to tackle today, which is renting versus buying in today's housing market, is so relevant for this gentleman right here who rents.
I rent.
He rents downtown in Chicago. Get us started here, Pattie. The housing market obviously is a challenge, particularly for prospective buyers this year. But I understand rent is also going up. It's up, what, 3 to 5% typically in certain areas year over year. So what's the bottom line here, or is there one?
Well, so there are certain things that you need to consider when deciding whether you're going to buy or rent, and I'm going to give them to you, okay? So the first one is you need to do a cost comparison. Just go online. NerdWallet, for example, has a great system to tell you whether it's more economical for you to rent or to buy. So that's where you start. But you need to consider some of the cost factors. So when you buy, do you have 20% to put down? There's going to be a lot of maintenance costs. So do you have that money to buy? If you don't have the down payment, then renting may be your only option. Or if you don't want to get your money tied up, renting may be a better thing for you to do. The next thing, market trends. Which city do you live in? Now, you guys are lucky. In Chicago, it's actually better to buy, because rent prices are skyrocketing. So if you're going to stay somewhere between 5 to 7 years, buying in Chicago is a much better deal than if you were to rent. Lifestyle needs. Are you going to be staying here with 5 to 7 years with your family? Are you going to be growing into this home? Or do you not know where your job's going to take you, for example? So if you're not sure where you're going to stay, renting is a much better option. And lastly, as you indicated, interest rates. Interest rates are high right now. But this is a great opportunity for people who have the money to buy, because houses are sitting on the market. So you can get a great deal on a home, although the interest rates are high now, and refinance later.
You know, Pattie, I've been looking around. You know, I rent downtown here in Chicago, and I've looked, you know, in keeping with the downtown life, I've looked at, you know, buying a condo or if that option might be good for me.
Right.
But then, you know, whenever I do the math, I'm like, well, it's not just that the mortgage is the same as my rent. There's also the taxes, and there's also the HOA on some of these buildings, which can be as much. And so I'm looking at this going, well, I'm basically going to be in the exact same scenario, but paying twice as much as I would be paying for the rent. Where do you fall on sort of the downtown buying of the condos? Do you find those, could I turn that around if I needed to down the road?
Absolutely, especially in Chicago, the market is hot, so you can turn that around. But you also have to consider, when you're renting, you're not building any equity at all, right? Your money is just going out the door, and you're not building anything for yourself. So although you may be paying a little bit more when you buy, even when you think about all the HOA costs, just know that you're building equity, and Chicago is such a hot market that you could definitely make it up when you sell.
Okay, let's say you have done that cost analysis, Pattie, that you mentioned off the top of the interview, and you decide, okay, renting is what I'm going with for now. It's super expensive. Do you have any tips on how to perhaps get the most out of that lease or lower the payment, or any tips to minimize the damage?
Yes, absolutely. You need to negotiate. That's it. There's no shame in that game. Negotiate with the person or the company that you want to rent. See if they'll give you incentives if you pay a few months up front. See if there are any other renter incentives. And when you shop around, you can say, hey, you know what? I really want to live here, but in this building, this is what they're giving me. So can you match it potentially? So negotiate, shop around, and have those numbers so you can have them in your pocket in case you need them.
Pattie, I want to swing back around to something that you mentioned off the top, which I think is sort of very relevant to those of us in television and never know where we're going to be, you know, every 5 to 10 years or so. How long does, if I were to buy, do I need to be able to hold on to that place for it to be worth it for me? Because we deal oftentimes in 2-year contracts, 3-year contracts, and none of us ever truly really know long term. So that's also been a fear of mine in terms of buying. It's like, okay, yeah, I'll plunk down money for this thing, but I might have to pick up and go to wherever in 2 years.
The rule is 5 to 7 years.
Interesting.
If you think you're going to be somewhere 5 to 7 years, and you gentlemen are so great, I'm sure your contracts are going to get renewed.
We hope so.
But 5 to 7 years is the rule.
Okay, that's good. That's a good rule of thumb. Now, if you do go with the buying option, you say to yourself, "Hey, my contract's definitely going to get renewed.
I'm Anthony Ponce.
5 to 7.
I'm a legend,
and I've never owned a home before. I am a first-time home buyer." Are there things? It's almost the same version of the question I asked you about renting to get the most out of that first home purchase.
Yes, so the first thing you want to do is you want to get pre-approved, because you need to know how much money you have to work with, and that will set your budget. After you get pre-approved, then set an entire budget for the home. You have to consider taxes, maintenance costs. All of these are factors. Again, there are a lot of online apps that will help you figure out what the budget is going to look like and see if you can actually afford it, okay? Next tip I have is live on that home budget for a month or 2. See if you can take that money that you would be paying for the home, set it aside, and see if you can live within those means. And then if you can, then you know that you're ready to buy a home. Most important thing also is to monitor your credit. Credit is so important. Make sure you have your credit score ready to go, and it's 700 and above. Otherwise, you're not going to get a good interest rate. And lastly, build your savings. Make sure you have 20% to put down, because if you don't, you have to pay mortgage insurance, and that's an extra cost that you wouldn't have to pay if you had 20% down.
Oof, wow. Are there any incentives for first-time buyers, in terms of getting that loan that the government's helping out with in any sense to maybe encourage people, younger people who maybe are making that jump for the first time?
Yes, you can get FHA loans, and FHA loans allow you to put in as little as 3%. But again, keep in mind that you're going to have to be paying mortgage insurance. So factor that into the cost savings or the plan. That's really important. And go on your state's website. A lot of states have some budget to help people buy homes, to help people buy property. So go on whatever state you live in, IllinoisState.com, anything like that. Look for home incentives, home buying programs, and don't sleep on them, because they can be great.
All right, Pattie, I want to give people like an actionable first step here. If they're in the same situation Jake is, actually, we can pretend we're talking to Jake. I go home, I've got a free couple hours on my hands and a working internet connection, which I'm guessing you have. What do I do to do that side-by-side comparison to run the numbers?
Go to an app, for example, like I said, NerdWallet is great. Put in all the numbers, how much you make, what costs you have, what your budget looks like. Put in all the numbers, and it will easily let you know how much it will cost you to rent or to buy. It'll give you how much equity you're going to have, what's a better comparison. Those are all really there, readily available for you. And as I said, after that, you want to get pre-approved, just so you know how much money you have to work with. You may be thinking you can buy $1 million condo where the lender is going to be like, not so fast. You don't make that much money. All you do is you're on TV talking to people, so you're not going to qualify for that.
The amount of times I've heard all you do is go on TV and talk to people. She's not wrong.
That's your job.
Yeah. So, Pattie, I obviously understand the value of buying. My mom has been trying to get me to buy for years. Basically, if I'd listened to my mom 12 years ago, I would be 20 years into owning a place here in Chicago, and it would have been first rule: always listen to your mom. But I'd imagine that there is this stigma around renting where it's like looked at as like the failure to compare it to buying. But is there a bit like, are there some situations where you're just like, listen, like I think you mentioned, if I can't guarantee I'm going to have this place for 5-7 years, where you just look at someone's circumstances and go, I'm sorry, your best case scenario is to just rent right now?
Yes, absolutely. Again, if you're not sure whether you're going to stay, if you need a flexible lifestyle, like, hey, I may be going to New York City to work or whatever, renting is a really great option. And there really is no shame in the game of renting. Let me tell you why. A lot of multimillionaires actually rent. And here's why. Because when you buy, you can expect an increase of about 5% on your money that you bought your condo or your house every single year. So you're making about 5% interest on that money. However, a lot of millionaires take that money and put it into other investments like real estate, like the stock market, which actually give them a higher return. So yes, ideally, if you're not using your money in big investments, things like that, buying may be a great idea. But if you need flexibility and if you can do something else with that money that's going to give you more than 5% a year, renting is a better option.
Oh, wow. Okay. You got some homework, man.
I do.
You better be using that.
And
if you have extra
my mom
cash
is watching
flow.
right now, and she is, I guarantee you, she's taking notes.
Pattie Ehsaei, thank you for your expertise. Really appreciate it, as always. And we will be following Jake's journey. We know we will.
Absolutely. Have a great day.
Thank you, Pattie.
Yeah, we're going to get your contract renewed ASAP for 5 to 7 years.
5 to 7 years.
5 to 7 years.
Yes.